Today we're plunging into a set of sources you shared with us, all about something that can feel like a real puzzle in English.
Phrasal verbs.
Exactly. Phrasal verbs, those combinations. A verb plus a preposition or an adverb.
Right.
Where the meaning often isn't just the sum of the parts, like take a look up. It can mean just, tilting your head back.
Looking at the sky, yeah.
But it also means searching for something in a list, a dictionary. And that's where it gets really interesting based on these sources.
And what's fascinating here, pulling from your sources, is just how deeply embedded these are. In everyday English, I mean. Native speakers, they use them constantly, almost without thinking.
You barely notice sometimes.
Exactly. They just pop up everywhere. Casual chats, TV shows, song lyrics. So really getting a handle on them, it's pretty key to making your English sound, well, much more natural.
Right. So our mission today, digging into these sources you sent over, is to unpack exactly what phrasal verbs are. We'll explore some, common examples they highlight.
Sure ones.
And crucially, pull out the key insights. The strategies these sources offer for actually learning, and importantly, using them more easily.
Getting comfortable with them.
Yeah. So let's start with how your sources define them. It's what? A verb combined with one or sometimes two small words.
Usually a preposition or an adverb, yeah. That's the structure bit.
Yeah.
But the real challenge, like the material you provided, points out.
It's the meaning, isn't it?
It's the meaning. It's often idiomatic. It shifts sometimes, well, dramatically, from the original verb's meaning.
Okay, so that's the core difficulty the sources seem to grapple with then.
I think so. How do you learn these new, often non-literal meanings? It's definitely not about just memorizing lists of words.
Right, that seems clear from the source.
And the material really emphasizes that the meaning comes from the combination, the whole phrase, not just the individual parts.
Okay. And looking across your sources, there's a clear emphasis on, strategies for learning this. One major takeaway seems to be that context is king.
Absolute crucial.
Just seeing look up on a list somewhere, not very helpful.
Nope.
But seeing it in a sentence like, if you don't know the word, look it up online. Well, that instantly clarifies that second meaning.
Exactly. That's a recurring theme in the learning tips provided in the sources.
So it's about understanding how they function in actual communication.
Precisely. Learning them in phrases, sentences, or seeing them in real-life situations. Way more effective than just rote memorization.
Okay. Let's unpack this with some specific examples from the sources then. These seem to be the ones they flag as, particularly common or illustrative.
Right. One that comes up early is get up.
Pretty simple, right? One meaning the sources give is just rising from bed.
Like, I usually get up at 7 a.m., standard stuff.
But interestingly, the same sources point out it also means to stand up from sitting.
Yeah, think. He got up and left the room.
Ah, okay. Same simple words.
Totally different physical action, depending on the context.
Got it. Another one flagged is run into.
And the material you shared is very explicit here.
It doesn't mean crashing into someone?
No, rarely involves actual physical collision, thankfully.
Yeah. So the meaning the sources focus on is meeting someone unexpectedly, by chance.
Exactly. The example given is a classic. I ran into my old teacher at the grocery store yesterday.
Perfect. It really illustrates that chance encounter meaning.
Then we have give up. This one's interesting because it has multiple meanings the sources highlight.
Okay, like what?
Well, the first meaning is about stopping an effort, right? Quitting something.
Ah, like in that common encouraging phrase, don't give up, you're doing great.
Exactly that. But the second meaning, as noted in your material...
Is it about surrendering something?
Yeah, often a habit. The example is straightforward. He gave up smoking last year.
Right. And again, context tells you which give up is being used.
Always context.
Okay, a really common pair that your sources mention, often used for electronic devices. Turn on and turn off.
Simple, but fundamental for daily life.
Totally. The examples are things like, can you turn on the TV?
Or don't forget to turn off the lights before bed. Basic stuff.
Now, these are also great examples, actually, to illustrate another important concept your sources touch upon. Right. Maybe briefly, but it's there. Separability.
Ah, right. What's fascinating here is that some phrasal verbs can be separated by the object, right? And others can't.
Yeah, explain that.
Well, with turn on, you can say, can you turn on the TV? Or you can say,
can you turn the TV on?
Exactly. Both are correct. And that's what separability means. You can sandwich the object in the middle. Turn the TV on.
Or keep it together. Turn on the TV.
Right.
But like you said, not all phrasal verbs work like that.
No way!
You wouldn't say, I looked my dog after.
Oh, God, no, that sounds completely wrong.
Right, you have to say, I looked after my dog. The verb and particle stay together.
Understanding which ones are separable and which aren't, that's another layer, isn't it? Another thing to sort of get the hang of that the sources hint at.
Definitely. And speaking of look after, the sources specifically call this one out. They say it's really common in everyday life.
It really is.
It just means to care for someone or something.
That's it.
Yeah.
The example we saw was, can you look after my dog while I'm away?
Yeah. And what's interesting is how such simple everyday words look after combine to express a really core concept, like taking responsibility or care.
Mm-hmm. And this leads us perfectly, actually, to a common mistake. Something your sources specifically warn against.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Learners often confuse look for and look after.
Ah, yes. I saw that. A big difference there, as the material states very clearly.
Huge difference. It's crucial. Look for means you're searching, right? Trying to find something you've lost or need.
Like, I'm looking for my keys. Have you seen them? You're actively searching.
Exactly. But look after, as we just said, means to care for, to be responsible for someone or something.
Like, I'm looking after my little brother tonight while my parents are out.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, confusing those two, it changes the entire meaning of your sentence.
Completely. Searching for your brother versus taking care of him.
Totally different. So the sources really emphasize paying attention to these, seemingly small differences in the particles.
So, okay, digging into the material, the key takeaways for you listening seem pretty clear. Phrasal verbs are tricky, sure, because their meaning isn't always obvious,
Often idiomatic.
but they are absolutely essential for sounding natural in English.
Definitely. And the most effective approach highlighted in the sources isn't about memorizing endless lists.
No, definitely not.
It's about learning them in context, seeing how they're used in sentences, paying attention to things like separability.
And understanding the nuances between similar looking ones like look for and look after.
Precisely.
The advice from the sources feels really practical too. Start small.
Yeah, don't try to learn hundreds at once.
Focus on the most common ones you encounter. Actively try using them yourself.
It's a process, right? Building familiarity through exposure and, importantly, practice.
So that kind of wraps up this deep dive into phrasal verbs based on the sources you shared. While they can feel maybe a bit daunting at first glance,
They can seem that way.
hopefully unpacking the strategies and these common examples helps you understand what's most important in the material you provided.
And this raises, I think, an important question for you. Thinking about what we've discussed today, which phrasal verb do you hear frequently but maybe still find yourself pausing over? Unsure of its exact meaning or how to use it correctly?
That's a good one to reflect on. Give that some thought.
Yeah.
Keep learning, keep speaking, and we'll see you next time.